It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Prime Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the Boston Red Sox. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Game 1 of the series with the Sox. The last time they were here in 2002, the Dodgers swept them in 3. The last time the Dodgers were at Fenway Park in Boston in 2010, the Red Sox swept the Dodgers. Tonight, it'll be the former Angel, John Lackey, on the mound. He's been brilliant against the Dodgers. 5-2 lifetime, an earned run average of 1.8. On the mound for the Dodgers, Ricky Nolasco, with a record of 9-9, 4-1 since he became a Dodger. The Dodgers and the Red Sox each have won 75. Remarkable, especially for Boston, they lost 93 games last year. Dodgers, as you may know, 28-5 since the All-Star game, 45-10 since June the 22nd to build up a 9.5 game lead against the Arizona Diamondbacks. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. By your Southern California Hyundai dealers. Come in and test drive the sleek, stylish Sonata today. By AT&T UVerse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PIC-ATT. And by Jack in the Box. Go big at a participating Jack in the Box with Jack's really big chicken sandwich combos for only $3.99 plus tax.
Moments away from first pitch, it's Dodgers baseball as they're hosting the Boston Red Sox, and Wow, there's a lot of juicy storylines in this one with Steve Lyons and Patrick O'Neill. It's must-see TV, I believe, this matchup. You got the trade, 2 first-place teams, Boston, LA. I'm looking forward to this one.
A lot of people thinking this is a World Series preview, and it might be when you think about it. 2 teams that completely revamped themselves to get themselves to this point. The Dodgers took on a bunch of old Red Sox players to make themselves a better team. They dumped a bunch of players so that they have money to spend on other players to make themselves a good team.
Yeah, last year Boston lost 93, and they certainly have improved. They're in first place. And listen, they always battle, but they're also very patient at the plate.
This is a team, it's a trademark of the Red Sox, and it has been for a long time. They take a bunch of pitches. You see it right there. Second in baseball. So what you're going to have to do if you're a starting pitcher or a pitcher in general for the Dodgers, you got to go right at guys. You got to get strike 1, strike 2, make them swing the bat, because they will take pitches and foul them off. What that does, it gets deeper into guys' bullpens, and it forces the other teams to use pitchers they don't want to use in ball games. The Dodgers got to go right at them and pound the strike zone.
You know, Carl Crawford's looking forward to this one. You're a guy that got traded away from Boston. I'm sure you look forward to the matchup again.
Plus, he didn't have good seasons there either. He wants to get back at them to prove to everybody while they're watching back in Boston that he can play.
Oh, hey, it's going to be great. Sit back, relax. When we return, Vince Scully has the call. And don't forget, we'll see you after the game for Dodgers Live.
To Dodger Stadium, a gorgeous summer's evening, and the prospects of a wonderful weekend series between the Dodgers and the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox turning their ball club around. They lost 93 games last year, and they come here in first place, 1 game in front of Tampa Bay, having won the identical number as the Dodgers, 75 victories. And if there is one man who could certainly represent both teams, it would be Reggie Smith. They had the honor of throwing out their first pitch. Reggie was with the Red Sox from 1966 to 73. He was with the Cardinals. He was with the Dodgers from 1976 to 81. So Reggie Smith throws out the first pitch, and for the Dodgers and the Cardinals, he moved on and finally wrapped up with the Giants. Meanwhile, John Farrell brought his ball club in here. We'll take a look at his lineup card, and it goes as follows. Jacoby Ellsbury in center field. The former Dodger and Phil, Shane Victorino, is in right. Dustin Pedroia at second base. Big Papi David Ortiz at first. Jared Saltalamacchia behind the plate. Daniel Nava in left field. Stephen Drew, you may remember, J.D.'s brother, used to play for Arizona. He's the shortstop for the Sox. Will Middlebrooks is at third base, and the former Angel and 19-game winner one year with the Angels, John Lackey, on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Ricky Nolasco. He's won 3 in a row. 4-1 as a Dodger, brought a record over of 5-8, so he has balanced that up. He is 1-2 lifetime against Boston, and facing a very tough leadoff man in Jacoby Ellsbury, who takes the first pitch low, ball 1-0. Among other things, Ellsbury has at least one hit in 18 straight interleague games. He has worn out both leagues, hits a hopper to third, Uribe is on it, and promptly throws him out. It's good to keep Ellsbury off the bases because he has 46 stolen bases, and 1 year stole as many as 70. So 1 away. We'll take a look at the Dodgers defensively. Gonzalez and Ellis, Ramirez, Uribe, Crawford, Ethier, and Puig, Fedorovic behind the plate. So with 1 away, the Flying Hawaiian, as they called him in Philadelphia, Shane Victorino checking in. 1 out, first inning, no score. A beautiful evening, 78 degrees at the start of the game. Nolasco ready and deals. First pitch low and away. 1 ball and no strikes to Shane Victorino. So Victorino, right-hand batter waiting. Nolasco into the windup. The 1-0 pitch. Shane takes a strike, and the count 1-1. Ricky Nolasco, who has done very well. It's a very tough act to follow when you're the 4th man in the rotation for the Dodgers. His pitch is inside to Victorino, ball 2. I mean, you have Kershaw. Right with him, you have Greinke. Right after them, you have Ryu. And then you get a chance to throw, and it's Nolasco. And the 2-1 pitch is waved at and missed. Slider down and away, and the count 2-2. Victorino, a marvelous young player. He's had a great career. Originally came up with the Padres, although he was first signed by the Dodgers. 2-2 pitch on the way. Check swing, strike 3, and down he goes. So Ellsbury grounds out. Victorino strikes out, and that will bring up Dustin Pedroia. Here are the numbers for Nolasco and the Dodgers starting pitchers. That's why it's such a tough act to follow. Imagine the staff in the last 26 games, 17-2, and an earned run average of 1.8. Well, here's Dustin Pedroia, 5'8" of dynamite, right-hand batter. Dustin takes high, ball 1. He's a good buddy of, among others, Andre Ethier in center field. Pedroia was the American League Rookie of the Year in 2007. He was the MVP in 2008. The 1-0 pitch is swung on, fouled away, and the count 1-1. Pedroia is from Woodland, California. That's up near Sacramento. Pretty large city, over 50,000 population there. He went to school at Arizona State. So Pedroia waiting, and the 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. Big swing. He staggers out in front of the plate, and the count 1-2. Take a look at Pedroia as he loads up and then lets the bat fly, but he came up empty. Pedroia hitting .294, 8 home runs, 70 runs batted in. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way is poke foul off to the right, out of play. Pedroia, despite the fact he's only 5'8" and maybe 180, hit as many as 21 home runs 2 years ago for the Red Sox. So Dustin Pedroia, one of the 5 finalists coming out of college for the Golden Spikes Award. Dustin waiting, 1-2. Nolasco ready, comes back with a curveball. He hangs it and is promptly banged into left field for a base hit. So a big, slow curveball, and Pedroia says thank you very much for that, and singles to left. So now David Ortiz, known to the baseball world as Big Papi, coming up. Big high curveball, bad pitch, and Pedroia makes him pay for it. So here's David Ortiz, hitting .320, 24 home runs, 78 runs batted in. Ortiz, an all-star 9 times in the last 10 years. He was the #1 DH at one time, though he's won all kinds of awards. Back in 2003 was the first time he won that award, and he takes a breaking ball strike. The Dodgers put up a triangle defense. Ramirez is on the other side of second base. Mark Ellis is out in right field. The outfield itself, however, is straight away, and Uribe is all alone between second and third. Throw to first. Pedroia back on the bag. Pedroia has stolen 16 out of 21. So Ortiz, who joined Carl Yastrzemski as the second player in Red Sox history to hit 40 home runs in consecutive years. Big left-hand batter backs off at a pitch at the kneecap, and the count 1-1. For Boston, it seems like they've always had somebody who can hit the ball a mile, whether you go back to Jimmy Fox or Carl Yastrzemski or Jim Rice, Ted Williams, Manny Ramirez. There's only one man who has hit 40 or more 3 straight years, and it's Big Papi. The next pitch is swung on ground ball to the right fielder. Yep, that's Mark Ellis who throws out Papi. Location, location, location. It works in real estate and it works in baseball. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. At the end of half an inning, no score. Now, bottom of the first inning, no score. But Don Mattingly, the names on his card would be as follows. Leading off, Carl Crawford in left field, Yasiel Puig in right, Adrian Gonzalez at first, Hanley Ramirez hitting cleanup at short. Andre Ethier in center, Juan Uribe at third, Mark Ellis at second, Tim Fedorovich behind the plate, Ricky Nolasco on the mound. On the mound, no stranger in these parts, Big John Lackey. He is 6'6", about 245 pounds. He had Tommy John surgery and missed all of 2012, but he's back 8-10, 5-2 at home. 5-2 in his career against the Dodgers. He has really been tough. He has had 7 of his 9 starts against the Dodgers called quality, 3 runs or less. And he's had 6 games where he allowed 1 run or less. So his earned run average against the Dodgers 1.8. Lackey working now on Carl Crawford, who promptly hits the pitch in the air, going back on the ball to Ellsbury to make the catch. So Crawford a fly ball. And we have 1 out here in the first inning. We'll take a look at the Red Sox defensively. Ortiz and Pedroia, Drew and Middlebrooks, Nava, Ellsbury, and Victorino. Saltalamacchia behind the plate, and Lackey on the mound. John Lackey, back in 2002, was a rookie with the Angels. He won 9 games and lost 4. And they dropped him in to start Game 7 of the World Series. And he became the first rookie to win a World Series Game 7 in about 93 years. The first pitch to Yasiel Puig, foul back, and the count 0-1. So John Lackey, who is so tough against the Dodgers in the past, figures to be just as tough tonight. Originally drafted by the Angels in 1999. Good fastball is swung on and missed. The fastball at 94. One thing about Lackey, he is 6'6", so if you get anybody on base, you can run against him. A lot of movement before he gets rid of the ball. Strike 2 pitch, fastball high and away. 1-2 the count. Another thing from Lackey, he gets a lot of ground balls. He's given up 14 home runs on the road. He's allowed 31 stolen bases. That's high, number 1 in the American League. The 1-2 pitch, slider down and away. Chasing it is Puig. And we have 2 down in the first inning. And Adrian Gonzalez coming up. So Puig chasing that hard slider. Didn't come close. And now Adrian Gonzalez. John Lackey with his 8 losses. He comes in 8-2. And he has lost 8 of the 10 on the road. So Gonzalez hitting .299. Boy, how the games go by. 1,300 games in Adrian's career. Lackey ready, delivers. Adrian shows bunt, takes low, ball 1. 1-0 the count. No score, bottom of the first inning. Gonzalez hitting .299. 16 home runs. 70 some odd RBIs, takes a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. 2 down first inning, no score. Now the Red Sox do exactly against Gonzalez what the Dodgers did against Poppy. The exact same defensive alignment. The pitch to Adrian is low. So all of a sudden, Dustin Pedroia is out in right field, just about the same distance where Mark Ellis was. Ortiz guarding the line. And the 2-1 pitch, Adrian swings and doesn't get it, fouling it off, and they count 2-2. But John Lackey originally became a professional in 1999. He was with the Angels from 2002 through 2009. His best year, 07, he was 19-9. So Big John knows how to pitch. Into his windup, and the 2-2 pitch swung on, foul tipped and held, and that'll do it for Gonzalez. So down go the Dodgers. Lackey strikes out 2, and at the end of an inning, it's the Dodgers nothing and the Red Sox nothing. Carroll, 51 years old, out of Monmouth Park, New Jersey, and has certainly helped his club turn around. Last year they won 69 games. They have won 75 games this year after losing 93 last year. So John has his club in first place, one game in front of Tampa Bay. He was a fine pitcher, won 14 one year, and had an 8-inning no-hitter getaway in the ninth. Meanwhile, the catcher, Jared Saltalamacchia, checks in, and Salty, as they call him, takes high, ball one, 1-0. Out of West Palm Beach, Florida, a number 1 pick by the Atlanta Braves. Saltalamacchia, the longest last name, I believe, in Major League Baseball history, 14 characters, so that it's almost a rainbow effect on his back. The 1-0 pitch is low, 2-0. It's an arch on his back. 14 characters. And naturally, he's salty. The 2-0 pitch on the way, and the left-hand batter hits in the air to left center. Ethier going back, still on the grass, and makes the catch for the out. So Saltalamacchia, a long fly ball, switch hitter batting left-handed. And the batter now will be Daniel Nava. Interesting how you go from all those syllables to N-A-V-A. So Daniel, left-hand batter, checking in. Nava, one of those fellows who started his big league dream on the right foot. 2 years ago, he hit the very first pitch that he saw as a big leaguer for a grand slam home run. He takes a strike. Only the second player to ever do that. Kevin Kuzminov. Remember Kevin played third base for, among others, the Padres. The next pitch, little high, 1-1. Well, he did it against Joe Blanton, and the Red Sox went on to win that game 10-2. Born in Redwood City and lives up in Los Altos, and the 1-1 pitch is taken for a strike, and the count 1-2. Like so many others, Ricky Nolasco, becoming a Dodger, a local boy from Rialto, looks in to get a sign. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Nolasco deals, check swing, it's low and inside, 2-2 the count. Carlos Enrique Nolasco, better known as Ricky, born in Corona, lives over in Rialto. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Daniel Nava. The 2-2 pitch on the way is hit foul off third, going back into the stands. For Nava, he just refused to be discouraged. He was considered too small to play at most levels. Now he's 5'10" and 210, but he was a walk-on and was cut during tryouts at Santa Clara. In fact, the coach up there suggested he go into coaching. 2-2 pitch fouled away, so Nava is still there. His father is a life fitness coach, and his dad helped work out the 49ers in the 1980s. 2-2 the count to Daniel Nava. No score, 1 out, bases empty, second inning. Nolasco's 2-2 pitch, a chopper slowly to short. Ramirez takes it on a tricky hop and throws in time for the out, and we have 2 down. So with 2 out, the batter will be Stephen Drew. And of course, anyone who's been following the Dodgers over the years remembers Stephen Drew playing shortstop for Arizona. Had a disastrous ankle injury and eventually surfaces and does well, thank goodness, with the Red Sox. 8 years in the big leagues. Stephen finding a home in Boston, and the first pitch of the left-hand hitter, off speed and high, ball 1. 5 years ago, while playing for Arizona, he hit for the cycle. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Stephen takes inside under the elbows. 2-0 the count. So Ricky Nolasco with 2 outs, second inning, no score. Trying to get into double figures. He's won 3 in a row, and he's 9-9. 2-0 pitch to Drew is taken off the plate. Steven an even 6, 195-pounder. And Nolasco falls behind 3-0. Waiting on deck, Will Middlebrooks. And the next one in for a strike. 3-1. 2 down, second inning, no score. Game 1 of the 3-game series with the Red Sox. They come in here having played 16 of 19 on the road. Drew, meanwhile, hits it in the air to dead center, heading for Ethier's glove, and that's where it winds up, and down go the Red Sox. So a 1-2-3 inning for Ricky, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score. With the Padres September 1 at 1:10. The Dodgers will show The Sandlot on the new high-definition video screens. For tickets and more information, visit Dodgers.com/The Sandlot. Dodgers and Red Sox. Red Sox came here in 2002, and the Dodgers swept them. Dodgers went to Fenway Park in 2010, and the Red Sox returned the favor. So it'll be interesting to see how this weekend comes out. And Hanley Ramirez checks in. First ball hitting, bangs it to the gap in right center, but it's slicing into the glove of Shane Victorino. So Ramirez, kind of a room service fly ball as he bumps into David Ortiz, and they both grin looking at each other, one away. That'll bring up Andre Ethier. We were talking before about last year, the Red Sox winning only 69 games and losing 93. Before last year, the Red Sox had 14 consecutive winning seasons. And they have certainly bounced back to be 1 game in front of Tampa Bay tonight. So here's Ethier, 1 out, second inning, no score. Lackey ready and delivers, low fastball, 1-0. Final score, Philadelphia beat Arizona 4-3. Wade Miley had a lead, and it eventually got away. So the Dodgers could win and get out in front, believe it or not, by 10.5. 1-0 pitch on the way is low, ball 2, 2-0. In trying to get the feel for the Boston Red Sox in connection with the Dodgers, if you go way back in the history books, you'd go back to 1916 when the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Boston Red Sox played in the World Series. 2-0 the count to Andre Ethier. Fastball lifted to left field. Coming in for it is Nava, and puts it away. In game 2 of the World Series of 1916, Babe Ruth was the pitcher for the Red Sox. The Dodgers had an outfielder named Hy Myers, and in the first inning with 2 out, Myers had a home run inside the park. Later, the Red Sox got a run. The game went 14 innings. Babe Ruth had 13 consecutive scoreless innings to beat the Dodgers that day. And for Ruth, that was the beginning of a record of scoreless innings. The first pitch to Juan Uribe, in for a strike, 0-1. When it was all finished, Ruth had 29 1/3 scoreless innings in his World Series experience. Strike one pitch on the way. Big high bouncer to short. The long throw by Drew easy, and that's that. We'll talk about Babe Ruth for a moment, connecting with the Dodgers. But at the end of 2, it's the Dodgers nothing and the Red Sox nothing. Padres be one of the first 40,000 fans to take home a Clayton Kershaw replica jersey. Compliments of wonderful pistachios. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Third inning, no score. Will Middlebrooks will start it off, right-hand batter. And Nolasco's first pitch is low, ball 1-0. Note on Middlebrooks, last year he had an extra base hit in each of his first 5 major league games. The only other big leaguer to ever do that, 5 extra base hits in his first 5 games, Enos Country Slaughter, when he came up with the Cardinals back in 1938. With baseball, we always have a tendency to look back, as Yasiel Puig will dream of his own records and set them as well. The 1-1 pitch is swung on and missed, 1-2. We were talking about that 1916 World Series. The Red Sox beat the Dodgers 4-1. Have you ever been to Boston and gone to a game, or have you ever watched a game coming from Boston on television? The 1-2 pitch in there, strike 3 call. That'll do it for Middlebrooks. Well, if you have ever watched, and if the Red Sox are winning in the bottom of the 8th inning, the entire crowd at Fenway Park sings a song, Sweet Caroline. They've been doing that for a long, long time. Well, it was a little surprising to find out, going back to 1916, the fans in Boston during that World Series sang not Sweet Caroline. Blackie takes a strike. They sang an Irish song called Tessie. So even today, they sing Sweet Caroline in the 8th inning, and if they win the game at home, they sing Tessie. So there's a connection with the Red Sox and the Dodgers going all the way back to the 1916 World Series. Babe Ruth was so thrilled about his 29 1/3 scoreless inning in the World Series. He thought that was the greatest thing he had ever done. Lackey strikes out swinging. The reason he thought it was so great, he broke the record held formerly by Christy Mathewson. And then Whitey Ford of the Yankees came along at 33 2/3 scoreless, and he holds the record. 2 down, 3rd inning, and here's Jacoby Ellsbury. Brings so much talent up. 153 hits leading off. Nolesko ready and delivers. Ground ball right to Adrian Gonzalez, and that will be all she wrote. A quick out. That's 7 in a row retired by Nolesko. And at the end of 2.5 innings, no score. Ortiz, the big boy from the Dominican Republic. He holds career records as a DH, 1,730 hits, 375 home runs. Over the last 9 years, he's played 10 or fewer games, all of them at first base. He's 6'4", 230, and he is 38 years old come the middle of November. Big Papi, David Ortiz. Meanwhile, the Dodgers now trying to get something going against Lackey, and the first pitch down and away, ball 1 to Mark Ellis. So Ellis hitting .281, 6 home runs, 41 runs batted in. Had a great deal of success against the American League. Lifts one high up into that purple sky. It'll be the center fielder's play, and Ellsbury makes the catch for the out. So Mark Ellis, fly ball to shallow center, 1 away, and Tim Fedorovich coming up. Tim Fedorovich, who was in the Red Sox organization, never made it to Boston. I think his high mark was Salem. Now a Dodger and has the opportunity to play against the Sox. Tim hitting .238. John Lackey deals just off the plate, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Lackey throwing hard enough, 94-93. Doesn't look like somebody just coming off Tommy John surgery. The 1-0 pitch swung on and missed, and the count 1-1. So far, Lackey doing what he did with the Angels against the Dodgers. 1-1 pitch on the way, and he low and away, ball 2, 2-1. Lackey's out of Abilene, Texas, but he's now a local boy in the sense He lives down in Newport Beach. He was quite an athlete in high school. He was the starting quarterback, captain of the football team, starting center on the basketball team, and he was all-state at first base for the baseball team. In high school, he might have pitched 14 innings, that's all. 2-1 pitch foul back upstairs. Fastball alley, 93 miles an hour. For Lackey, 6'6", 245. Came in here with an earned run average against the Dodgers of 1.8. Tough as any pitcher around. 2-2 pitch. John delivers, and it's low, ball 3. We mentioned he gets a lot of ground balls. About 1.5 to 1. When he was at Texas Arlington, Lackey was an outfielder, so he's done remarkably well, suddenly being converted to a pitcher. John ready, Fedorovich waiting, and the 3-2 pitch on the way, swung on, lifted to right field. Victorino on the move is there now, waiting, and makes the catch. So in studying John Lackey, doing some homework on him, we saw that he's a ground ball pitcher, but you'd never know it. In 2 2/3 innings, he has struck out 2. He's allowed 1 ground ball and 5 fly balls. So you never know. Ricky Nolasco coming up against Big John. Lackey into the windup and delivers. Nolasco backs off and takes a strike, 0-1. We were talking earlier about Lackey pitching Game 7 as a rookie in the World Series. And they asked him, how nervous were you? And he said, I wasn't nervous at all. I'll tell you why. He said, you play quarterback in high school in East Texas. That's pressure. Fastball fouled away. They shut down the towns. 15,000, 20,000 come out. And it's like life or death for the citizens. Lackey said, that's the real pressure. 1-2 the count. John staring down, getting a sign from Saltalamacchia. And the 1-2 pitch swung on and missed. And down goes Nolasco. 3 strikeouts for Lackey. He's retired 9 in a row. And at the end of 3, no score. About the designated hitter. Do you like it or don't you like it? Well, you can tweet hashtag DHAL only, DH both leagues, or no DH. Stay with us. We'll give you the results in a little while. 4th inning, we've had 1 hit in the game, a hanging curveball, and Dustin Pedroia hit it into left field for a base hit in the 1st inning. Shane Victorino be followed by Dustin Pedroia and then David Ortiz. Victorino struck out in the first inning. Shane, who was born in Maui, lives in Wailuku in Hawaii, grew up over there, went to St. Anthony High School. Only 5'9", about 190 pounds, and takes a look at his strike. So back to back, you have Victorino at 5'9", and then Dustin Pedroia at 5'8", and then Ortiz at 6'4". Strike one pitch, 1-1. Victorino's had a great career. Dodgers drafted him way back in 1999. He was a track star in high school. 1-2 the count. His speed translates into a definite threat on the base paths. Stole as many as 47 in the minor leagues and 37 in the big leagues. 1-2. Check swing. They're going to look. No swing, says Dan Iasami. 2-2. With the bobblehead craze, when Victorino was with Philadelphia, his bobblehead had a hula skirt on it. It was extremely popular with cab drivers. Down he goes on an off-speed breaking ball for the second time. That's 4 strikeouts for Nolasco, and the batter is Dustin Pedroia. Pedroia might be considered a little man in the major leagues, but he's anything but, and among other things was the MVP back in 2008, one of 10 MVPs by Red Sox in the past. Takes a strike. We go back to Double X, as they called him, Jimmy Fox, then the great Ted Williams, Jackie Jensen, Yaz, Carl Yastrzemski, Fred Lynn, Jim Rice, Roger Clemens as a pitcher, which was startling back in '86, and Mo Vaughn, and then Dustin Pedroia. 1-1. 2-1. One of my favorite baseball true stories, talking about Ted Williams winning the MVP in '46 and '49, was the year that he was eventually going to hit 406. A hopper to Gonzalez for the second out. He'll win the race to the bag. 2 down. On the last day of the season in 1941, Ted Williams' batting average was .39955, which technically would be .400. And his manager said they were in Philadelphia, a freezing, cold, miserable day. They had to play a doubleheader. So the manager said, "Ted, you don't have to play. Take the doubleheader off, and you'll be the man to hit .400." And Williams said, "No, I play. If I'm going to hit .400, I'm going to deserve it." What did he do? He went 6 for 8 and wound up batting .406. Now that's a great baseball story. So here's Ortiz. Ball 1. Diamond defense. So we saw it with Gonzalez. We see it with Ortiz. And Big Papi waiting. Check swing. It's going to cost 1-1 the count. Ortiz with 24 home runs, 16 of them has been hit on the road. The Fenway Park is great for the right-hand batter, not necessarily for the left. 1-2. Ortiz does something that hitting coaches wouldn't like. If you were, let's say, starting in high school, he drops his hand before he actually gets set, loads up, and swings. They used to always call that a hitch. Well, if you're not hitting, it's a hitch. If you hit, it's just style. Fly ball to left field. That ought to be that. Crawford puts it away. So Nolasco is rolling along after the base hit to Pedroia. 3, 6, 9, 10 in a row. No score. get an award-winning Farmer's Burger topped with farm-fresh veggies, cheese, bacon, and avocado. By Chase, send money to almost anyone, anywhere with your smartphone. Chase Quick Pay, so you can. And by 76, we're on the driver's side. Bottom of the fourth inning, no score in the ball game. Quite a duel. John Lackey and Ricky Nolasco. We've had one hit in the game, a two-out single in the first inning by Dustin Pedroia. Carl Crawford will lead it off, fouls it off. Then Yasiel Puig and Adrian Gonzalez. Crawford hitting .288, 5 home runs, 23 RBIs. Outspoken in the fact it was not a pleasant time for him playing for the Red Sox. 1-1. Bottom of the fourth. Dodgers have been retired 9 in a row. Middlebrooks in on the edge of the grass looking bunt. Right side of the infield deep. High slicing fly ball going foul back into the stands, and the count 1-2. There have been a lot of polls, I'm sure, people talking about who's the greatest player who ever lived. I think most people think the greatest player who ever played wore a Boston Red Sox uniform and then the New York Yankee uniform, and that would be Babe Ruth. Foul ball. And certainly one of the great quotes about Babe Ruth was made by a man named Daniel Okrent, who was a baseball scholar. And in looking at the numbers, Ruth was a magnificent hitter and a magnificent pitcher. And he said it's as if Beethoven and Cezanne were the same person. Another foul ball. That's about as good as it gets. Beethoven and Cezanne. If you like French Impressionist paintings, you really get that note. So Ruth might have been the guy. 1-2 the count. Bottom of the fourth, no score. Line drive, base hit to right field. Victorino over to get it. Crawford holding, and that breaks the spell. After 9 in a row retired, Crawford singles to right field. Say a reminder, Fox Sports Live, the sports and highlight show you've been waiting for, is here. Everything you need to know about the world of sports, give it a try. Fox Sports Live airs nightly on Fox Sports 1. Yasiel Puig coming up. It was not a particularly good road trip for Yasiel. Right-hand batter struck out, slider down and away in the first inning. He was 4 for 27 on the road. Sliders chased and missed. The old story, I'm going to keep throwing it until you prove me you can hit it. 0-1 the count. Puig did pretty well. I mean, you don't expect him to hit 380, 370. Right now, he's hitting overall 344. 0-1. From slider away to fastball low and in. 1 ball and 1 strike. When John Lackey was a kid growing up, he saved the covers of Sports Illustrated magazine. And after that 2002 World Series game, he was on the cover. You can imagine the thrill. 1-1. Fastball just off the plate. 2-1. Crawford standing at first very quietly. He's stolen 11 out of 15 over there. Two balls, 1 strike. 2-2. In looking at Puig's numbers, he has 93 hits and 69 strikeouts. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And a high pop fly. That's all it is. Coming over is the second baseman, Pedroia. So Crawford nowhere to go. 1 down. And the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian Gonzalez on the road trip, 7 for 24. Was 2 for 5 yesterday. Since June 20, he's been somewhere between 292 and 304. And remember, the Dodgers came of age June the 22nd. That's when they started. And since the 22nd of June, the Dodgers are 45 and 10. Strike. 0-1. Adrian looking at plate umpire Jerry Davis, who is the crew chief and a senior member of the umpiring staff. So Adrian didn't argue, just kind of looked and said no. Jerry's in his 30th year. And that's in the air. Victorino going back on the run and backhands it. Crawford almost to second, gets back to first. So Gonzalez, a long fly ball to right. Victorino had that in his sights all the way. He had a great jump. So 2 down, and Hanley Ramirez, the batter. Hanley, who made his debut with Boston back in 2005. Came to the Dodgers by way of Miami. The Red Sox and the Dodgers, looking back to last year, I think will both agree that the big trade helped both teams. That's a strike. It certainly helped the Dodgers get to where they are, and it also gave Boston some freedom. They had some money they could spend, and they went out and got other players. So both teams. And it is no accident that both teams are in first place. By the way, Josh Beckett is here. Flew in from Fort Worth just to be with the guys. 0-2 the count. Beckett flew in with Bobby Patton. You may remember he went back to Texas, had surgery. It was a nerve issue, and he is really feeling chipper now. Flew in so he could visit with the Dodgers, and also, of course, his former teammates with the Red Sox. Well, it's nice to see Josh here. 0-2. There goes Crawford. The pitch in the dirt, gets behind Saltalamacchia, but holding on at second is Crawford. Well, he was going on the pitch, so it's a stolen base. So Carl Crawford has stolen 12 out of 16. Saltalamacchia able to run that thing back to the backstop. So the Dodgers, with a runner in scoring position, the first for either side, we're in the fourth. No score. John Farrell, who's out of New Jersey. He was a very successful pitcher with the Cleveland Indians. His biggest year, 1988, big year for the Dodgers. He went 14-10, and the next year had a no-hitter for 8 innings, and it was broken up in the 9th. 0-1 the count. And a drive into dead center. Back goes Ellsbury to the wall. Gone. 2-run home run for Hanley Ramirez, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. That is the 15th home run that John Lackey has allowed on the road. And Hanley got all of that fastball, and Lackey knew he made a mistake as soon as the ball was hit. So Ramirez clears the center field wall, and the Dodgers jump out in front 2-0. And the batter now, Andre Ethier. And ball one. Lackey, who's supposed to be the ground ball pitcher and has had a lot of fly balls, has allowed 19 home runs now. 15 away from Fenway. Ground foul, 1-1.
Everybody clap your hands.
Dodgers 2 runs, 2 hits. Red Sox no runs, 1 hit. One ball, 1 strike. 1-2. Remember, Lackey came in here having faced the Dodgers 9 times and has earned run average 1.8. And the Dodgers now get 2 runs here in the 4th inning. Fastball hit to the hole, backhanded by Drew, and throws him out. Wonderful play by Stephen Drew. He has got a great arm, but even better than that, a remarkable quick release. And that time it was really tough going to the hole. Dodgers settled for 2 and lead 2-0. Runs batted in, and I mean he hit it, driving that thing over the center field wall. Ellsbury up to take a look, and that's all. Clayton Kershaw leading the cheers, and the Dodgers lead 2-0 as we go to the 5th inning. So Hanley now at his position. Meanwhile, Salta, LaMacchia, Nava, and Drew. And Salty a strike. 0-1. Jared from West Palm Beach, originally drafted by the Braves and came up to the Braves back in 2007. They load up. The Dodgers do again with that triangle defense. Ramirez on the other side of second base. Salta LaMacchia, a switch hitter, hitting .235 right, .287 left. 10 home runs, 9 of them hit left-handed. Salta LaMacchia is 6'4", 235. since he is so tall, when the Braves signed him, they said he reminded everybody in Georgia of the former catcher Javi Lopez. Two and two. You know, ball players always love to haze rookies. And every year there's a road trip where the rookies have to dress in outlandish costumes. When Salty was a rookie, he had to wear a big baby diaper, a hat, and a cigar. The baby Huey look. That must have been quite a sight. At 6'4", 235, walking through an airport wearing a baby diaper, smoking a cigar. Jared Saltalamacchia, 3-2. Line drive, and there's Uribe at the other end of it. Juan reacting well. He's not only hitting well, Uribe is playing a very solid third base defensively. So quick reactions to take care of Salty's line drive. Up the ladder. Another left-hand batter, Daniel Nava, another switch hitter. They have 3 switch hitters and 3 left-hand hitters in the Red Sox lineup. 0-1 to count. Off-speed breaking ball, and that drops in nicely. Nolasco allowed a base hit to Pedroia. Big hanging curveball. That's the only hit. 0-2. In the dirt. And let's see, did it hit his foot? I believe it did. So Nava hit by a pitch and goes to first. The batter will be Stephen Drew. And we have a chance to just present you the Dodgers schedule. They have the 3 with the Sox. Then the Cubs are here, followed by San Diego. Then the Dodgers will go out on the road to Colorado and Cincinnati. But there's a fine homestand. Red Sox, Cubs, and Padres. Here is Stephen Drew, and he has given Nolasco a bad time in the past. Stephen has 3 home runs against him. And that's ball 1. 1-0. Drew has a wonderful arm, but even more to complement the strong arm is the quick release and the accurate release. 1 ball and no strikes. Big bouncer into right field. Base hit. Nava to second and holds on. Puig overran the ball, but then gets it back in. So a line drive out. They hit batter, and now a single to right. And Will Middlebrooks coming up. So Nolasco now second time around and in a little trouble. Game 1 of the 3-game series. Tomorrow afternoon and then Sunday at 5. Will Middlebrooks out of Greenville, Texas, lives in Texarkana, Texas. And ball 1. He was a 5th-round pick. His dad was the assistant baseball coach and football coach at his high school. So he learned at a very early age. They say he's a terrific athlete. 6'4", 200-pounder. That's a strike. He drew a lot of college scholarship offers to be a quarterback and a punter. Finally committed to Texas A&M. Might have been an NFL punter but signed with the Red Sox and began his baseball career. 1-1 to Will Middlebrooks. Hard ground ball to Uribe from his knee to Ellis. Over to Gonzalez. Double play. Wow. Juan Uribe on one knee throwing a strike to second base, and then Mark Ellis turns it. The Red Sox are turned away, and we're going to the bottom of the fifth. 2-0 Dodgers. A reminder, don't miss any of the action here at Dodger Stadium next season. Why not become a 2014 season ticket holder now? Place a deposit at Dodgers.com/season tickets. Boy, I'll tell you what, the way time flies, you have to suddenly say, next year's not that far away. I was thinking today about the World Series between the Red Sox and the Mets. And the ground ball hit by Mookie Wilson. It went between the legs of Bill Buckner, etc. And all of a sudden it hit me. 27 years ago that was. 1-1 to Juan Uribe. Uribe grounded to short, 0 for 1. Slice down the line, but it's slicing too much. Back into the seats. 1-2 to Uribe. Hitting a very solid .279 and facing John Lackey, who gave up the leadoff single to Crawford and then the 2-out home run by Hanley Ramirez. One and two. Hit that off the end of the bat. Easy play for Pedroia. One away.
Dodgers second baseman, number 14, Mark Ellis.
Mark Ellis coming up. Ellis 6 home runs, 41 runs batted in, 17 RBIs against the American League this year. Dodgers, by the way, are 11-6 against the American League. The Red Sox are 11-4 against the National League. One and one. Looking back at John Lackey facing Hanley Ramirez, and Ramirez hit that 2-run home run in the fourth inning with a man aboard. The count was 1 ball and 2 strikes. High fly ball into left, but it's playable. Nava is there. 2 down. Anyway, with a 1 ball 2 strike count, opposing batters this year have been hitting 118 against John Lackey with 1 home run. So it was a shock to see Ramirez hit a 1-2 pitch for a 2-run home run. Not to mention what it did to the nervous system of John Lackey. Foul ball, 0-1. And in looking back at that fateful inning, Carl Crawford's base hit came on a 1-2 pitch. So that 4th inning was somewhat of a surprise for those who follow closely the action and the pitching of John Lackey. Good fastball, kind of overpowered Fedorovich. John is due to lead off in the 6th inning. No rest for the weary in the National League. Slider down and away. 1-2. Fedorovich goes down, so do the Dodgers. And at the end of 5, it's 2-0 Dodgers. Going into the Coliseum, but that's where the Dodgers played from 1958 through 1961. Anyway, on this day in 58, Gil Hodges, one of the finest Dodgers of all time, hit a grand slam home run to beat Milwaukee 10-1. At the time, it was big news. It was his 14th grand slam. It's since been passed. And of course, Lou Gehrig is the all-time holder. Big Lou, the Iron Horse, hit 23. Let's go back to this one. Two to nothing Dodgers. John Lackey has had 1 at bat this year prior to tonight. He did sacrifice. He's just up there looking in a 1 ball 1 strike count. John has made 61 pitches in his 5 innings. That's a strike. 2-0 Dodgers, top of the 6th. And down goes Big John. 5 strikeouts for Ricky Nolasco. And we have 1 out here in the 6th. Jacoby Ellsboro coming up. Ellsbury has done a lot of wonderful things. 46 stolen bases. He has stole third 6 times. Shows bunt. Ellsbury's background is very interesting. His family is of the Navajo tribe. In fact, they say when Jacoby calls home to speak to his mother, he greets her in her native tongue, Navajo. 1-1. Yeah, you're right. He should be playing for Cleveland. Must have been 30 years ago at least. Jacoby's mom, still in school, won a contest to design the tribal flag. Ground ball. Ellis. 2 down. That Navajo flag, they tell me, the brown represents the earth, blue is for water, and the river gives life to the earth. The orange rays, the eternal rising and setting of the sun, and 4 feathers, 1 for each tribe. That's the Colorado River Indians Tribe Reservation. 0-1 to Victorino. Shane struck out twice, 0 for 2. And he's 0-2 again. No balls and 2 strikes. 2 down, 6th inning, 2-0 Dodgers. Just show him a fastball. That fastball at 93. And that's popped in the air into shallow right. Puig is there. So it's a 1-2-3 inning. Down go the Red Sox, and at the end of 5.5 innings, Dodgers 2, Red Sox 0. Board, two important games. Philadelphia beat Arizona 4-3, so the Dodgers with a win could lead by 10.5. Tampa Bay beat Hiroki Kuroda and the Yankees 7-2. So for the moment, they're a half a game back of the Red Sox, and should the Red Sox lose, Tampa Bay would have caught them. 0-1 the count. 0-2 to Ricky. Nolasco struck out in the third inning. He's made 78 pitches in 6 innings. 1-2. And down he goes. So Nolasco strikes out, one away in the 6th. MLB TV celebrates 11 years. You can catch the rest of the 2013 season in high definition quality. Watch every out-of-market game live on more than 350 mobile and connected devices. Visit MLB.tv today. Baseball everywhere. John Lackey gave up a 2-run home run to Hanley Ramirez. That's the difference in the game. Crawford rolls it up the middle by the diving Pedroia. So Carl is 2 for 3, and he was aboard when the 2-out home run by Ramirez. He also stole second base in the 4th inning. Fastball seemed to be running away from him, and he was still able to roll it up the middle. So Yasiel Puig coming up with 1 out, runner at first. Puig struck out and popped up. Fastball away at 92. Crawford stole in the 4th inning. If you were with us, we mentioned in the report on Lackey that you can run on him. There he goes again, only this time Puig fouled it off. That would have been an easy stolen base. 1-1. When Carl Crawford stole second in the 4th inning, it was the 32nd stolen base against Lackey. They've stolen third base on him 4 times. 2-1. Interesting, another note about Lackey. He had allowed a home run in the 1st inning 5 times this year. For whatever reason. 2-1. 3-1. Puig has walked 23 times. Question is, with a runner at first, 1 out, will they green light him? There goes Crawford, and it's popped in the air. Shallow right field. Victorino is there. So they let Puig swing 3-1. He popped it up. So 2 down. Adrian Gonzalez coming up.
Number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Adrian Gonzalez struck out and flied to right. Interesting with Carl Crawford standing over at first base. You know, Crawford stole second in the 4th inning. Back 4 years ago, when Crawford was with Tampa Bay, he stole 6 bases in a game. And what makes it most interesting, he stole the 6 bases for Tampa Bay against the Red Sox. Whatever Davey Lope said made him smile. Crawford has stolen 12 out of 16. They can't quite commit with a runner on base. They can't do that triangle defense. There goes Crawford. The pitch, a strike, the throw. He has stolen it. As we mentioned, you're not stealing on Saltalamacchia. You are stealing on elbows and kneecaps of John Lackey. At 6'6", it takes him a while, like a hook and ladder, to get untracked. So that's 33 stolen bases against John Lackey this year. Without a doubt, that's number one in the American League. 0-2. Boy, you have to be able to do so much to pitch in the big leagues. You have to have a lot of stuff. You have to throw strikes. You have to field your position. And you have to stop the running game. Clayton Kershaw, as good as there is now, being left-handed with a very good move to first. 0-2. 1-2. Tough pitch to take with 2 strikes. Adrian, 16 home runs, 78 runs batted in. We're in the bottom of the 6th. Pedroia, Ortiz, and Saltalamacchia coming up in the 7th inning for Boston. Two and two. Two runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers as Hanley Ramirez, who provided the 2, waits on deck. No runs, 2 hits for the Red Sox. Two and two. Fouled away. John Lester and Hyun-Jin Ryu tomorrow. Jake Peavy and Chris Capuano on Sunday. A couple of veterans trying to outthink each other. Gonzalez and Lackey. And a fly ball to deep left. Going back on it is Nava to make the play. So the Dodgers lead Crawford. And we are heading for the 7th inning. And the Dodgers trying to hold on to a 2-0 lead. rethink possible. By CarMax. Start the search for your next car at CarMax. By Snow Summit Adventure Park. Ride, bike, hike. Check out all the new Adventure Park at snowsummit.com. And by Captain Morgan. Raise your glass, always in moderation. We go to the seventh inning, 2-0 in favor of the Dodgers on the home run by Hanley Ramirez. Ricky Nolasco has allowed 2 hits, 2 singles. Hung a curveball to Pedroia first time up. Ball 1. Among other things about Dustin Pedroia, when he got that hanging curveball in the first inning, he had 2 strikes on him. He's had 20 hits with 2 strikes on him. Not this time. Uribe and Ramirez, and it's Ramirez just did get him. Close play. That's a tough play, and Uribe over to talk to him. Looked like either man might have made it, but they also could have had a collision. So Dustin Pedroia taps out, 1 away, and Big Papi David Ortiz coming up. Ortiz grounded out, fly to left. It will be interesting to watch Nolasco now. He has made 80 pitches. And that's a drive to center. Ethier makes the play. 2 down. The reason we say it's interesting to watch Nolasco, in breaking down his pitching this year, his first 61 to 75 pitches, the opposition is hitting 121. From 76 to 90, the opposition is hitting 294. And from 91 to 105, they're hitting 358. So he's now made 81 pitches. He's getting into the dangerous area. 0-1. Saltalamacchia, the longest name the Dodgers have had in franchise history. Saltalamacchia, 14 letters. The Dodger, 13 letters. Mehmetad Hollandsworth. Of course, the Dodgers also had the shortest last name, 2 letters. Chinlung Hu, H-U. Salty is fly to center, lined out to third. 2-2. Big switch hitting catcher, hitting 270. Nolasco trying to nurse a 2-0 lead through 7. Change. 3-2. And hook foul down the line. Saltalamacchia at 6'4". Gives you a good strike zone. Three and two. Got him. 6 strikeouts for Nolasco. Sets him down in order again. And we're heading for the bottom of the 7th. 2-0 Dodgers. in the 4th inning with Crawford aboard. Remember the Twitter poll question? How do you feel about the designated hitter? 67% no DH. This would certainly sound like a National League town, doesn't it? Despite Big Papi and others, this is a National League city. No DH. All right, here's Hanley. High fly ball, shallow right. Pedroia out, but Victorino has the easy play. 1 away.
Dodgers center fielder, number 16, Andre Ethier.
Ricky Nolasco has made 80 pitches in his 7 innings. So far, Lackey has made 78 pitches in his 7 innings. So the pitching has been remarkable. Andre Ethier flied to left, rounded to short, 0 for 2. And a strike. Oh and 2. Lackey is due to bat 4th when the Red Sox hit in the 8th inning. Red Sox have lost 5 of the last 8 of the last 13. On this current road trip, they're 7-9. They did win 2 out of 3 in San Francisco. Ethier down on a pitch in the dirt. The out recorded at first. 2 out, 7th inning.
Dodgers third baseman, number 5, Juan Uribe.
6 strikeouts for John Lackey. The pitching has been brilliant. No walks. Juan Uribe grounded to short, grounded to second, 0 for 2, hitting .278. First ball hitter normally, ball 1. When the Red Sox come up in the 8th, it will be Daniel Nava, Stephen Drew, Will Middlebrooks, and then Lackey due to bat 4th. Two and 0. Dodgers are unbeaten in their last 18 series. Rather remarkable. For Mattingly and company, you have to go way back to early June against Pittsburgh when they lost 2 out of 3. They have not lost a series since. Though people like Puig and Crawford are just accustomed to winning. 45-10 since late June. 28-5 since the All-Star game. Mile high fly ball, which means Victorino can get under it. So the Dodgers go quickly in the 7th inning. John Lackey, angry, lets out a little bellow at himself. And at the end of 7, 2-0 Dodgers. Uribe throws accurately to Mark Ellis, who turns a double play, kept the bag in front between him and the runner, and there was no chance to break it up. So the Dodgers have just been going through a stretch where they seem to be doing everything right. Who's doing everything wrong? I think it's John Lackey. You saw him let out a kind of a roar, a bellow walking off the mound. I'm pretty sure you can understand why. We were telling you before the game, John Lackey is basically a ground ball pitcher. Well, he's had 21 outs. He struck out 6. He's had 12 fly balls, only 3 ground ball outs. And, of course, one of those fly balls kept on going over the center field wall. That's why I think he was angry. The fly ball by Uribe. So into the 8th inning we go. And first pitch hit in the air. Puig is right there. And that'll do it for Daniel Nava. The bullpen is ready to back up Nolasco. Ronald Belisario is out there. J.P. Howell is down there with him. In fact, Paco is throwing now with Belisario. Howell threw earlier in the game. Meanwhile, Nolasco, his pitch count has just reached 90, and he's in the 8th inning with 1 out. Stephen Drew, who has hurt him in the past, ball 1. We mentioned Drew has 3 home runs in his career against Ricky. Tonight, fly to center, single to right. It is great to see Stephen Drew healthy and playing. He had what was almost a disastrous broken ankle, which ended his career in Arizona. That's right. Stephen, a first-round pick by Arizona out of Florida State, same school from which his older brother graduated, J.D. 2-2. There's another brother besides J.D. and Stephen. His name Tim. He pitched in the Cleveland Indians organization before retiring. Stephen's the youngest of the 3. No swing. Drew spent over 7 years with Arizona, 1 brief year with the A's, and now the Red Sox. 3-2. Just did get a little bit of a fastball away. I think that would have been ball 4. 3-2. Drew left-handed all the way. Waiting on deck, Will Middlebrooks. Hard ground ball, backhanded by Mark Ellis to get him. 2 down. You know, tomorrow Fox Saturday Baseball returns with Game 2 of the series, the Red Sox and the Dodgers. Fox Saturday Baseball begins tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time, and that will be John Lester and Hyun-Jin Ryu. Will Middlebrooks struck out, hit into a double play. And a strike, 0-1. Mike Karp, left-hand hitter, is out on deck to bat for Lackey. One ball and 1 strike. Dodgers lead 2-0, 8th inning. Mike Karp on deck as a local boy. Gonna go foul. 1-2. So John Lackey figures to come out. If Middlebrooks ends the inning, then we'll find out about John. Lackey made 84 pitches in 7 innings. That's only 12 pitches an inning. But he's losing 2-0. That's going to be hit right at Ramirez. So we will not see Mike Carp for the moment anyway. And we're heading to the bottom of the 8th, 2-0 Dodgers. That was Hanley Ramirez 2-run home run, but that would be overlooking great pitching from Ricky Nolasco and John Lackey. Nolasco out pitching Lackey because of the home run. Strike one to Mark Ellis. Nolasco made 101 pitches in 8 innings, 10 outs at bats of 3 or less pitches. So he had the Red Sox going early in the count, and he breathed. Tremendous. We were talking about how tough it is for a pitcher to follow Kershaw, Greinke, and Ryu, and darned it, Nolasco didn't pitch a gem. Ball 1. So Lackey will be coming out for a pinch hitter in the 9th inning, down 2-0. One and two. Mark batting .279. Lackey has made 89 pitches. So each pitcher has done exceptionally well, and then Lackey, who is not pitching the way he normally pitches, gave up the home run. 2-2. Nolasco finished up, retiring 10 in a row. Lackey began the night retiring 9 in a row. Kenley Jansen would appear to be getting ready to pitch the 9th. Still 2-2. John Lester, Hyun-Jin Ryu tomorrow afternoon. Game 2 of the 3-game series. Nolasco getting a hug from Puig. 2-2. Dodgers and Red Sox came into this game each with 75 wins. The difference, the Dodgers in a comfort zone. Arizona lost. Dodger win, they would lead by an unbelievable 10.5 games. Red Sox, however, know that Tampa Bay won. If the Red Sox lose, they will have been caught, despite having won 75, by the Rays. Anxious moments for John Farrell. Fly ball, right field, Victorino. One away, Fedorovich coming up, fly to right, struck out, 0-for-2. That's tomorrow. John Lester 11-7. Hyun-Jin Ryu, who's been brilliant, 12-4. The Dodger pitching continues to amaze. Oh and 1. Fedorovich fly to right, struck out. Tim 0-for-2, hitting .234. Dodgers got home last night, reasonable hour from Miami. But Don Mattingly decided to give A.J. a rest and give Tim a little work. 0-2. Fedorovich, 3 home runs. Dodgers know one thing, he can catch. He was 3 for 7 on the road trip. So pretty hard to play this game 7 at-bats in 7 games. Popped up around the plate. Saltalamacchia. So Fedorovich fouls out. 2 down. Nolesko is due up. He's not going to come up. Jerry Hairston will come up and bat for him.
Your attention, please, for the Dodgers. Pitching for Nolesko, number 6, Jerry Hairston Jr.
Hairston didn't have much to do on the road. He wound up 2 for 8. Jerry, as a pinch hitter, double and 4 RBIs. So 2 out in the 8th. Fastball popped up left side, Middlebrooks. All right, we are heading for the 9th inning, and the Dodgers trying to give Nolesko a win to give him 10 for the year, and it'll be up to Kenley Jansen. Hitting one over the center field wall despite the heroic attempt of Jacoby Ellsbury. That home run came with Crawford aboard, and that did it. Nothing else in the game. So Hanley, the big hit to give the Dodgers the 2-0 lead. So the starting pitchers, Lackey and Nolesko, were tremendous. Lackey wound up making 97 pitches, Ricky 101. Ricky allowed 2 hits. and Lackey 3. The big surprise, I think, for John Lackey were all the fly balls that eventually led to the home run. Now it will be up to Kenley Jansen. Talking about what a tough act to follow Kershaw, Greinke, Ryu. Ricky Nolasco in the month of August, after his 8 innings tonight, Nolasco's earned run average for this month, 2.08. We can also give you the paid attendance, 50,240. A Dodger win, they will be 10.5 in front of Arizona, and the Red Sox would be tied with Tampa Bay. So here's Mike Carp, and a strike. Mike was born in Long Beach and lives in Lakewood. He was originally drafted by the Mets out of Lakewood High School. Big home run hitter in high school, and he was the minor league player of the year for the Mets one year. Fouled away. Carp eventually moved over to the Mariners, played a couple of years in Seattle, and the Red Sox made a deal to acquire him in February. Stands right on top of the plate. 0-2. Check swing, down he goes. So Kenley Jansen comes in and picks up a strikeout. And of course, he has a lot of remarkable things, like an earned run average of 1.9. But what I find fascinating, 91 strikeouts and 11 walks. And a reminder, Dodgers Live coming up right after the game. So 1 out, and now Ellsbury. Ellsbury grounded out 3 times. Ball 1. Jacoby hitting .297, 7 home runs, 47 runs batted in, 46 stolen bases, but they've kept him off. He also has a streak on the line. It's nothing that's going to capture headlines, but he has at least 1 hit in 18 consecutive intra-league games, and he is 0 for 3 tonight. In 11 games this year against the National League, Ellsbury is hitting .413 prior to tonight. Right. Two and 1 for Jacoby Ellsbury. Another strike. Jacoby went to Oregon State. He lives in Madras, Oregon. The first round pick by the Red Sox in 2005, and the 50,240 really into it here in the 9th inning. Just off the plate. The crowd wants everything a strike. So does Mattingly. Kind of giving that cocked head look at plate umpire Jerry Davis. Nolasco along with Matt Kemp so close to a win now. 3-2. Wow. He's absolutely amazing. One cutter after another. 2 strikeouts here in the 9th inning. Jansen working on his 22nd save. Shane Victorino, his foot in the door. Dodgers are working on their 18th shutout and the 11th at home. Right. By the way, we told you if the Dodgers win tonight, they would lead Arizona by 10.5 games. That would be the first double-digit lead in the division for the Dodgers since late in the 1977 season. Big Kenley, the kid from Curacao, has really grown up. Ball one. Kenley has reached that stage in his career as Jacoby looks on. But Kenley is really enjoying coming in, the crowd roaring. He has reached the comfort zone of being a very successful reliever, closer. 1-2. Victorino has struck out twice, fly to right, 0 for 3. One and two. Almost hit him. The Red Sox this year have been shut out 9 times. And the Dodgers trying to apply the whitewash tonight and ruin John Farrell's evening. 2-2. Popped in the air, foul, no play for Fedorovich. Don't forget tomorrow, hope you'll drop by if you can. John Lester, Hyun-Jin Ryu. Final game Sunday with the Red Sox. Jake Peavy, remember Jake when he broke in with San Diego, against Chris Capuano. And Hanley Ramirez with the 2-run home run, dead center in the spotlight. Just did hold up. That was a slow breaking ball. You don't see that pitch very often. Victorino started and held up. Dustin Pedroia on deck. That's the pitch. Kemp and Nolasco thought that might have been strike 3. 3-2. And that's going to hit a long way foul. Shane has 8 home runs, 40 runs batted in. Three and 2. Popped up. Well, that ought to do it. It will be Hanley. And the Dodgers shut out the Red Sox. They are now 10.5 games ahead of Arizona. Seems like only yesterday they were 9.5 games back. So that's a 20-game swing. And the Dodgers continue. They're 29-5 since the All-Star game. They are 46-10 since the 22nd of June. And a dejected Red Sox club goes back into the dugout, tied for first place with the Tampa Bay Rays, who beat Hiroki Kuroda and the Yankees 7-2. So Hanley Ramirez with a 2-run home run gives the Dodgers a victory. Certainly one of the quickest games of the year. 2 hours 7 minutes. And for the Kenley Jansen Marchand and Chowder Society, he made 18 pitches to retire the side in the 9th inning. Stay tuned for Dodgers Live coming up next. Good night, everybody.
Just another